if I follow the trail of your stress, it will take me to your deepest fears. And I always believe that life is the dance between what you desire most and what you fear most. Tony Robbins. I feel that this quote really expresses a lot of what's going on. Your deepest stresses, your inferiority complexes, what really triggers you is often attached to your deepest fear, right? Within your inferior function. It's also an aspiration, but it's something that you struggle with getting control of for your life. For almost the whole timeline of your life, it's going to be a struggle. And we'll get better at it. We'll think we're awesome at it sometimes, and then we stumble and fall on our face. So for my example here, as an INFP, extroverted thinking is very difficult for me to actually get control of and contain and use properly. I'm not really great at regulating and measuring progress and like breaking down my goals into small steps and being able to follow those despite how I feel in the moment, right? It's something I try to do, and I've found many different ways of doing it, of getting better at it, but it's not a strength of mine. It's a fear I have. It's when I am having some sort of anxiety or freaking out, it's usually because of me being unable to break down my goals and to get to where I want to go, and not having a way of measuring it in a way that I feel fits, and enforcing myself, like do what you need to do despite how you feel about it, despite what's going on. Just wake up, do the damn thing, right? That's something that I'm not very good at, and that is, like I was saying, that's where my fear lies a lot of times. And that's also what my stress is, right? So the stress and the fear are connected there. And that balance, that dance between what you desire most and what you fear most, the inferior function is your aspiration. It's something that you really want to gain control over. And when you finally do, you're like, this is the best thing ever, and you want to share it with everybody else. It's difficult. But that's a good sign, right? Because you can, with this model, with MBTI cognitive functions, you can pick it apart and you can realize that that is something that you're going to struggle with and something that you can improve on. The psyche, the mind, has this cool little technique that I learned about, and it's, you try to do everything you can by using your dominant function. Like everything. Every situation, I'm going to try to approach it through introverted feeling and my values, my beliefs, my conscience, how I understand my identity to be in connection to my decisions. But it doesn't really work, right? It doesn't work all the time. You can't approach it. I can't solve math by my values and my beliefs. It just doesn't work. So the psyche tries to do that, and when it can't do it, it's like, well, let's just try the other thing, and it switches to your inferior function or your aspirational function. It's like, let's just try this. So when IFPs get really stressed out, we have all this stress, then we switch to our greatest fear, which is being someone who does things without thought or without care, rather, of how it's going to impact other people on an individual level. Someone who does things focused on the system and the outcome without worrying about how somebody's going to feel in the process, or taking in their values, their beliefs, their identity as we push forward through to our goal. And that comes out as anger, sometimes violence, punching walls and things like that. Usually not violence directed towards another person. That would be more like internal violence. Like, I'm going to pick the things about you and micromanage the things that I know really stress you out, because I've been through it before, I've felt it before, I've experienced, so I can pinpoint those and kind of mess you up a little bit emotionally. And hopefully that doesn't come out too often, but when it does, it's because we get overwhelmed with stress and we switch to what we fear the most. So just kind of briefly going through some of the other personality types. I'll try to use the RPG model a little bit here because I don't use it as much as I should. But for an INFP, it's going from this reflective druid to the strategic commander. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm just going to attack. We're going to go. We're going to have some losses, some casualties, but we're going to go. The INJs, so the clairvoyant rangers, as I've been calling them, it's going from this calm, collected Zen-like energy, imagining, knowing, divining, bringing about truths through insights and things like that, switching to this responsive gladiator that's like, I'm just going to deal with the thing in the moment as my body tells me, as my instincts tell me. Like, I'm just going to react with it to the best of my ability and not plan, not overcomplicate things, not think too much about it. Just, be there, be present in the moment. And that's probably quite the difficult situation for INJs. And so a lot of stress would come out from there, right? And this is when you get, you start to overindulge on some things, perhaps. You just let loose, like, I don't care what everybody says or what's going on. I'm going to drink, I'm going to dance, I'm going to do whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be something like too dangerous, but something that is out of character for you. Right? ENPs, using the galvanic artificer, this high energy, creative, innovative character who is always like thinking of new ways of combining tools and ideas and playing with the battlefield and other opponents and things like that. Very entertaining, change-focused, envisioning, enabling change and whatnot. Switching to the methodical guardian, someone who is very composed, very structured, recalls the past, reviews the past, crosses the T's, dots the I's, meticulous, right? Methodical, checks in with past experiences and also authority and the structure, the infrastructure of the world, and trust that to be the best way to learn about life and to continue into the future, right, as a good source of information. So ENPs get overwhelmed with this inability to have freedom, this overwhelming lockdown mode. And you can feel it within you as an ENP. You get stressed out, your stomach starts turning in knots, and you just start having anxiety about being unable to take all the options, to explore, to do things as you want. You get weighed down by paper. All the, like, if you ever go to the immigration office here in Japan, oh God, it's awful. ENPs, you must hate that, right? More than me. Thinking about the ISJs. So we have it flipped. The methodical guardian who's very good at recalling the past and being conscientious about what to do and structured in that sense. Going to this chaotic, charged, energetic, galvanic artificer, just being able to like combine all these random different ideas and do it well. Well, as your inferior function, it's something that you fear, that you stress about, that you don't want to give into. It's got to be chaotic, right? There's this, and this could turn into anything. You don't know. Like the possibilities start to become endless. And the anxiety from that, the worry about what would happen in the future if these different things come about, gets to be too much for you. It's something that you cannot brace against and protect against all that chaos. And so you get impulsive. I'm just going to just do something. And sometimes it becomes very not who you are. As all of these, right? It's like the people who just randomly go out and get married on a whim or something like that. Or, I don't know, I'm going to move to another country and not look back. That's so out of character for an ISJ, for a methodical guardian, that it's strange when it happens, isn't it? But it's there. And it's because your stresses build up and you flip into that thing that you fear the most. Someone who just goes with the opportunities as they come and follows whims and things like that, but not in a healthy way, as your inferior function. The ESPs. So you have the responsive gladiator as the leader, right, as the dominant function, and then you have the inferior function as the clairvoyant ranger, this serene, sentinel, visionary energy, right? So when that's unhealthy, when it comes out in the bad way, and you get overwhelmed with the stress and your mind flips, and you just do the thing that you usually try to avoid within yourself, and you become the person that you try to try to not be, is when you start to get maybe even paranoid about what's going on. You start connecting these ideas and you see these like blob-like patterns, like this thing and this thing have got to be connected. Oh my God, and when they're connected, then that means this person is cheating on me, this person's going to betray me, and my future is completely gone. And all these bad things happen because you start to follow the trail of your mind connecting patterns without embracing the immediate moment, and getting real feedback. And be like, I'm going to just talk to the person and see what's going on. Not when you switch. Not when you flip over to that inferior mode and you get nestled and entangled in with your fears. It gets pretty bad. I've seen it. Talking about the judging functions, we talked about IFPs, going from the reflective druid over to that strategic commander, and just taking action, just doing things without concern about other people, because within that is housed the ability to take resources and measure them and combine them and delegate and structure things so that you do reach your goal. But you don't have all the healthy components when you're flipping through stress and fear. For the EFJs, so you go from this unifying cleric, this healer that's very good at building bridges to connect people, bonding, affirming, relating to people, connecting people, meeting the needs of people. And then you flip into the analytical wizard, this technician kind of character who is very good at not worrying about the relationships, not focusing on that as much as focusing on the truth over the tact, focusing on doing things because that's the correct thing to do. The information, the logic, the data is there, and it points to take this action. And not taking that action feels wrong. You start to get overly critical about people, even yourself. Maybe thinking people are black and white, good or bad, just very nitpicky, very critical, and using that information as a way to attack people. You did this at this time, or this information, this is good, this is bad. Very not like who you are, You are someone, as an EFJ, you're someone who is concerned with other people, who puts a lot of energy and love and care into helping other people and making them feel well, making them feel welcomed as also. I didn't want to say well again. And switching to that detached, logical, cold, icy kind of train of thought as your inferior function when you don't have control over it is bad. It's not where you want to be. And that you become the thing that you fear. The ETJs, the strategic commanders, when you go into the reflective druid, and you go into this slow energy that's trying to listen to the nature of the world and understand it, and each different flower has its own identity and its own soul and life, that kind of sucks for you because it stops you from getting things done. It stops you from closing the loops. It stops you from doing what you do best, which is making very quick, actionable decisions to get results, to make humanity, make yourself progress in a way that is sustainable and effective and efficient. And so when you switch into that, you're in this vulnerable mode. You're exposed. You're carrying around your heart. You might start. You might get overwhelmed with emotion. You might feel like you are a martyr. You're the one that is being betrayed by everybody. Nobody really sees what you're trying to do, and they're treating you unfairly or whatever it is. Just overwhelmed with strong emotions that, honestly, and you probably know this too, that you don't spend a lot of time really building rapport with and mapping out those emotions. And so it can be very overwhelming, of course. And for the ITPs, analytical wizards, switching over to the unifying cleric and having to start worrying about how other people are feeling and the social niceties and doing the good thing based on what everybody else thinks and not the truth, not what is actually shown by the data and the information and your understanding of how the world works. That's another form of digging into emotions and relationships that you usually don't let yourself get too entangled with. It's always a drive. It's always in there. It's that dance between what you desire most and what you fear most that dominate your desire, as well as the desire in your inferior function. The desire to get that in control in your life and be able to actually make use of that anti-heroic character that you have within you, that you've been repressing because you spend so much time on your dominant function. And it just, you could get, as an ITP, you could get overwhelmed with the emotions, start expressing, emoting way too much, getting worried about how other people see you and your status, I suppose, in that sense, and in your position within the group, within society, and your fears of not being able to connect to other people. So, yeah, it's kind of a long rant going back and forth, but you got to be careful with that psyche flip-flop. When you try to do too much in your dominant function, you can't do it, and your mind is just like, okay, let's just do the other thing. Let's see how it goes, and then it comes out as that thing that you apologize about the next day. You're like, I'm sorry, that wasn't me. Please forgive me. Or you just take it all in and you sit on it and you don't actually express it to other people and you don't step out there. But either way, the reason why I've made this video is because I want us all to accept that we have these fears and we have these things that we feel inadequate, inferior about. And we also need to acknowledge that we want to get control over it. We want to be better at it. And that's also part of the reason why it's a fear, because we don't think we can. We don't think we're equipped well enough to do it. We haven't supplied the gear and the experience to that anti-heroic, that fourth function, that inferior function. And we just focus all on our dominant function, the leader, right? And maybe the companion and the newbie within there of the auxiliary function and the tertiary function. So what is it like for your type? Did I get it right? Did I get it close enough? I know everybody has a different twist to it, a different seasoning on top of it. And an ISFP is going to be different than an INFP in many ways. But there's probably that connection. There's probably some fear wrapped within there that is similar to both, based on the inferior function, based on the cognitive function and the emotional container that it fits in within the functional stack. So I do want to know. I want to know what is it like for your type? Did I say anything that rang true, that didn't? Let me know. And how do you deal with your fears and your stresses that come from your inferior function and come from not wanting to acknowledge it and not build it up and level up that character as much as maybe you should. All right. So thanks for watching. Good luck, have fun. Keep up the lifelong questing. Peace.